Hello, everyone. Welcome to the SavvyCast. This is Jamie, and I'm thrilled that you're joining us today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. I have as my guest today the founder of a product that has been on Zane's and my shelves for months. We love it. Every single day we drink one of these shakes. And I said, you know what? I'm going to have the founder on the podcast to talk about this product that we love so much. So joining me today is Michael Tecku, the founder of Momentum Shake. Michael, thank you for jumping on today to share with us.
Jamie, it's my absolute pleasure to be here. Thanks so much for the invite. I really cherish the opportunity to talk directly to women just like yourself. They're a huge part of our community, and I'm happy to answer any questions about anything today.
I've got plenty of questions because, like I said, I cannot remember where I heard about your shake or I saw it. And I, at first glance, thought, well, this is just another probably great product. But what intrigued me and drew me into looking at Momentum is the list of ingredients and the ones that I've never seen in any other product. So it's way more than just a protein shake, because we've always been drinking protein shakes because, you know, we're all about getting in our protein, but this is entirely different. So I want you to go into all of that with us today. But first, I have an icebreaker question that I always ask at the beginning of each session. So what would you choose as your last meal?
Probably a ribeye steak and a brownie sundae, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's awesome.
I know it's simple. I have it like it's a staple in my diet, and that's for a good reason, right? It's just something hits the soul with that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, before we dive into the Momentum, all things Momentum, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're joining from Wisconsin. You look like you're extremely fit. So just give us a glimpse into who is Mike Tecku.
Sure. The 30-second rundown. I'm a singer-songwriter for a long time, and was on food stamps and broke, and very much a starving artist, and sold my guitars, started a photo booth company in my first business, and we turned that into a franchise, helped 1,000 people around the world start their first business. And then I just got addicted to being an entrepreneur. For me, it's an outlet to being creative and getting to essentially make art that is useful to people. So that's how I've always approached whatever I make. Can I be expressive and helpful at the same time? And I treat things as if it, like I'm putting my name on it. I want it to be great. And I just treat everything like art. So I started a bunch of businesses, and then by 2019, I had enough of them, and I sold them all, and I was just going to be retired for the rest of my life. And that lasted about 6 months, and I just got wildly bored and had this huge identity crisis. What am I going to do with the rest of my life? Who am I if I'm not an entrepreneur? And I decided just to kind of lean into being a creator of things that would help people. And so at that time, my girlfriend, she had just gotten diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I was watching her take mountains of pills every day, and she got to a point where she just would reflexively not be able to take them anymore. And on top of that, there was just everywhere you went, someone had an opinion about what she should be taking. And, it just made me realize that there's this huge hole of a value that I could provide. One, in curating something that was true and leaving out all the nonsense, and then curating something that had absolutely everything that would be useful in the highest quality, so you didn't have to go trust some random source, someone go out and test all the best manufacturers in the world, and then just make it easy, right? Like she was taking 30, 40 pills every morning, and I'm like, why isn't this a shake? Why isn't this delicious? We had talked about some other products, like usually when you take something that's good for you, you think the amount of good that it is equal to the amount of suffering you have to endure to choke it down, right? Whether that's healthy foods are always like, it seems like a sacrifice to be having them, or exercise sometimes seems like suffering. And so I wanted to flip that in reverse. I was like, well, what if this was easy? What if this was something you look forward to every day, like habits that you enjoy? No one
Hmm.
has to force me to take coffee every morning, right? I really
Right,
enjoy
right.
my
Yeah,
latte. So like,
yeah.
how can it be that good and be good for you? So that was sort of the challenge I put to myself. And I just was at the place in my career where I wanted to try to make a masterpiece. I wanted to, like, what is the absolute best thing that I could make? So I spent 3 years researching and researching, and it became very clear to me that a lot of the things we describe as health or disease are really just symptoms of aging. So I set out with the goal, like, if we could slow down the things that are causing aging, maybe we can treat a whole bunch of things. And so that's what the theory of momentum is based on. It's not based on some random study with mice did this and like they
Mm,
live 10% longer. I looked at what are the things that are declining in everybody as we get older, and
mm,
what are the things that the vast majority of people are deficient in. That's what we put in the shake. So there's very little things that are like pixie dust, right?
mm-hmm,
A lot of green shakes out there, they have like 80 ingredients, right? And it's like 5 milligrams of cucumber powder and
mm-hmm,
17 milligrams of raspberry dust. And like
mm-hmm,
that's not what your body's made out of. That's
mm-hmm,
not what your body is deficient in. Your body loses 50% of its muscle by the time you're in your 50s. You lose
mm-hmm,
50% of the NAD in your body, which we can talk about a little bit later. You lose 50% of your collagen by the time you're 65. So like it's
mm,
very easy to see what the body is made out of and what declines. And you can just look at that chart and correlate that directly to your body breaking down faster than it can repair itself because you're not giving it the raw materials it needs. So that's what's in
mm,
the shake. There's no pixie dust, there's no magic. It's just what is your body made out of? What are you deficient in? And so that I'm really strict about these sorts of things. So we don't include some things that you're not deficient in. Like almost nobody in America is deficient in vitamin A, vitamin C, or vitamin E. And that may
mm,
seem counterintuitive that we don't include that. But if you have too much of something, it's negative.
mm-hmm.
So
Right.
there's tons of studies that have been coming out recently that supplementing vitamin A is it has a serious negative cost to it. Whereas a lot of companies, they just want to like put everything possible on their label, and we're just not willing to do anything for marketing. So
Mm-hmm.
if
Right.
if it's not great for you, even if it would sound great, even if it sounds like green and healthy, it's not going in because
Mm-hmm.
we're just like a no bull kind of thing. Because quite frankly, I don't need to make any more money, and I'm just not interested in doing anything that my family and I aren't going to be really excited about taking every day.
Makes perfect sense. And, let's talk about some of those ingredients because, and one that jumped out at me because I see a product advertised literally every day, and I'm sure it's a fine product, but it is for a colostrum.
Sure, I
And
know
I
what you're talking
wanted
about.
to check, yeah. I mean, anybody who's on Instagram does. And I thought, oh, I really want that. I didn't even know why I wanted colostrum. I knew it was from breast milk. And I thought,
Hmm.
it's got to be great. But you have this is in one of the packets that I got, a whole little card with the supplement list and colostrum 2G and why it matters. And you actually on your website have why it matters under the a list of your ingredients, which I think is wonderful. But the colostrum, other than that one brand that I see pop up all the time, I've not seen that in any other supplement or shake. Can you just tell us about colostrum because I'm
Sure.
intrigued by it?
So that's something we just added a few months ago. I heard about it about a year ago, and then nothing goes into the shake without me trying it for at least 6 months. I reached out to some manufacturers that do it, here in Wisconsin. So I've toured the facilities and farms. It's just an hour away. It's great, and I noticed some real benefits both in my hair and my skin. And so I was like, okay, there's something to this. And then so the reason it's in the shake is twofold. One, it actually does something. So, how does it work? Every mammal in the world who has offspring produces colostrum. It's the very first milk, and it's essentially transferring the mother's immune system to the child. And it's full of, and it's like the most nutrient dense food that's produced. And what that means is we have growth factors that literally help you repair and build your body and muscle and brain. It has immunoglobulins. So that's that immune system
Right.
transferring. So you're helping repair and strengthen your immune system. And a couple other things that help with just overall health of your gut, like things like lactoferrin. There's like 60, 70 more things that have positive benefits to them. I would say those are the three biggest ones. In essence, everything we're doing with aging is every day you wake up and your body is damaged by the sun or your metabolism or
Mhm.
toxins in the environment. And every day your body sends out your immune system or growth factors to repair that damage. And so that's where you need these raw materials to replace the collagen that was broken or the protein that was broken or the blood vessels and veins that have calcified. How do you remove that stuff and make the repairs? And so colostrum is a turbocharge of some of these things to help those cells in your body do their job. So in the research, though, I was kind of dumbfounded at how much they were charging. It's like $1.50, $2 per serving, which is a lot, right? And one of the things I wanted in my mission was to remove as many middlemen as possible so you could have all of these things for much, much less. When I
Mhm.
began and I built this stack out, it was like $400 a month to buy all of these different ingredients separately and then
Mm.
20, 30 minutes every morning weighing and measuring to try to make this
Mhm.
shake at home. Ours is $150 a month. And now that we've added colostrum, it's probably, if you were to go out and buy all these things right now, retail is like $550 a month.
Mm.
We added colostrum and we didn't change the price. So we just reduced, I'm trying to reduce the margins on everything as much as
Yeah.
possible so it's accessible to more people. And I totally understand that $150 is still a lot of money for a lot of people, but my main mission is not measured in dollars. It's going to be measured in how many years of life, healthy life, can I give to as many people as possible by making this habit of, optimal nutrition supplementation accessible.
Mhm.
And the moment that I can make it less expensive, I will. We're building out our own manufacturing plant right now, or I should say expanding. We already do all of our own manufacturing, which is
Mm.
super rare. Almost no supplement company does that. I just want total control to make sure that the quality is great.
And your colostrum it's bovine, correct?
Yeah, yeah. All colostrum on the market is going to come from cow's milk, right? Because
Right,
as
because
you know,
women aren't going to donate their
yeah,
colostrum. You're
right. Yeah,
right.
this is not human. Okay,
Right,
we're not out there
right.
milking cats. Like this
Okay,
is
yeah, okay.
this is coming
No,
from
no,
cows.
I didn't really think that through, but it is bovine. And yours aren't your cows from Ireland? I read in
So that's where the whey protein comes from.
oh, okay, okay.
So we can get into that real quick and why we get them from Ireland. But just to one last thing. So Armora is the company that you were comparing the colostrum to. They do a 1 gram serving and they take the milking for the first week. They'll take like half of the milk and half will go to the calf, right? So that is what they've determined is more than enough and the rest is surplus. So that first week, that's a very generous time frame for first milking, right? Every day, every hour it gets more and more diluted and more just like milk, right? It also becomes way less expensive. So we
Mhm.
only take the first 3 hours. That is the most potent. It's basically quadruple the power of something that would come on day 7, right? So it's obviously way more expensive. So we just take
Mhm.
the first 3 hours and we give 2 grams. So it's a double serving plus 4 times the strength of what you would get in $1.50 serving from Armora. So it's a significant
Wow.
value I think that we're trying to provide in that particular ingredient. And you
Right.
don't have to measure it out. You don't have to. It's just already there in the
Yeah.
shake. The serving is done.
And that is one thing that I love. I'm blown away by the list of ingredients. And this is 2 scoops gives you 20 essential supplements. Is that correct?
It probably is more than that. Like I just rounded down, but
Okay. Some of the ones in addition to the colostrum, the omega-3, which we all know is important, and the NAD plus precursor boost. Now, I know NAD, my physician believes in that for preventive things, but can you just give us a quick rundown of what NAD does and why you included it?
totally. So if we're going to go back to like ninth grade biology, if you remember the Krebs cycle, I had to go review all this stuff, and I really got into kind of geeking out on all this science. I just
Mhm.
found it very fascinating and kind of getting to the root causes of everything. And this one ingredient really stuck out to me. So we naturally produce NAD. It's a form of vitamin B3, and it goes through this process constantly. So just to back up, what it does is you have a cell, and inside of your cell, you have another organism called a mitochondria. And this
Mhm.
is the engine, the powerhouse of the cell. So NAD is the gas that goes in that engine. All right. So we take vitamin B3, nicotinamide, and then it converts into nicotinamide ribosome. You maybe have heard of NR as a supplement.
Mhm.
And then it turns into nicotinamide mononucleotide, NMN. And so we're breaking down that molecule till it gets smaller and smaller, and it's small enough to go through the cell wall. And then once it's inside of the cell, it gets converted into NAD plus. And then it gets spent as fuel and exited back out again as vitamin B3 nicotinamide. So what happens though as we get older is we lose that supply. We lose about 50% by the time I think you're 50 or 60. What the studies have shown so far are super promising. I am super skeptical of all scientific studies, right?
Yeah.
I want results. I want it to not
Mhm.
just have results, but I want it to like make sense to me intuitively.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
never trying to insert things that are going to change the way your body works. I want to replace because I believe your body knows best. So just it doesn't have the raw material. Let's replace it to that level that you had when you were in your 20s and 30s. And I think it's a safe assumption to say that you're going to operate better if you were trying to
Right.
mimic the materials and body you had when you were really young and healthy. NAD plus is too big of a molecule to supplement. It can't get into the cell wall. So you have to do what is called a precursor, and that would be NMN or NR. Right now, there is a pharmaceutical company that is trying to own NMN, and that's the best molecule you can take. So we cannot call it that. That's why we call it NAD plus precursor,
Mm.
right? So this is like
Mhm.
it's a form of vitamin B3, and I'm sure that will get resolved in the next couple years. I don't know how you can own something that the body naturally produces,
Yeah.
or vitamin B3 is kind of insane to me.
Wow.
I want to be as transparent as possible on all the labels, but
Mhm.
that's just the rules right now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
does that kind of answer the question you
Yeah,
got?
I mean, that's yes, that was just one that stuck out. And then also because we're big about gut health here, sun fiber. And of course, we are have many products with collagen and some of these other things, but sun fiber is something that I just don't see talked about a lot. Can you just touch on that really quickly?
And I think this is really important for women, especially. All the women in my life have some sort of gut issue, right? And
Mhm.
I think you could trace many diseases, particularly autoimmune diseases. I've learned a lot
Mhm.
about this with my girlfriend in MS to your gut. And the reason for that is it's, you have your gut has a speed, right? How quickly are food moving through and nutrients being absorbed. And that's going to control the amount of good bacteria and bad bacteria. All fibers are prebiotics. Prebiotics is a marketing term for fiber. It's the food that your good bacteria eat.
Mhm.
So we're trying to control a couple things with the source of fiber and the amount of fiber. We're trying to control that speed. If you have too slow of a speed, which is a lot of the women in my life, that's the problem they have. It's like too slow, and they
Mhm.
get that means that your stomach gets backed up, and then you're digesting food in your upper instead of your lower intestines. And what that means is that bacteria that is normally kept in check in your lower intestines moves up into your upper intestines. And that's when people talk about SIBO and candida. That's what's happening is you've backed that up. And that's going to create a ton of inflammation in your body. And then the reverse of that, if it's going too quickly, you're not absorbing enough nutrients, right? So you're literally starving yourself of the most important things that your body needs. So we want to get that Goldilocks speed coming through. We also want to make sure that the lining of our intestines is intact. And so when you have things backed up, you can create acid reflux in places that you don't need. And the
Leaky
food isn't
gut.
exactly, yes. So
Mhm.
your food isn't being fully digested in the right places. So it escapes through your gut lining and then enters your bloodstream as undigested food. And your immune system sees that and starts to attack it. And that's what I think is the cause of a lot of autoimmune disorders. The
Mhm.
reason for that is what they call mimicry. So, particularly things like gluten, right? People have a lot of gluten intolerances. That could be partly from glyphosate and pesticides, but it could also be that the protein itself looks very similar to a lot of viruses, and so your body can't tell the difference between the the virus, which you want it to be attacking, and like a wheat protein. That protein also looks very similar to like the myelin sheath in your brain. And that's what MS is your immune system attacking the myelin sheath. So when you have a bunch of these things floating around undigested in your bloodstream, you create this autoimmune response that is way larger than it needs to be. And it's
Mm-hmm.
attacking all of these things, thinking it's viruses. And then because it's produced way too many antibodies, now it's attacking your brain. It's just attacking everything that looks even close. That's why I think the gut is such a central place to start to make sure we get that, we've lowered inflammation, we've lowered our immune response, and we're not attacking ourselves anymore. Every year, the amount of women that have autoimmune disorders is going up, and I think this is a
Mm-hmm.
big cause of it. So if we can get that right, we're gonna solve a ton of problems. So why sun fiber? There is long chain, medium chain, and short chain fibers. And as you might intuitively guess, a long chain will make you take longer to digest, short chain
Mm-hmm.
faster. So things like psyllium husk and acacia fiber, these are long or short chains. That's almost all the fibers on the market are long and short chain fibers. So they're going to be laxatives, or they're going to be things to help you not be laxative, kind of block you up. Sun fiber is one of the few out there that is a medium chain. And so I'm trying to hit that Goldilocks zone so your body is digesting at the correct speed all the time. And it's an amazing prebiotic at the same time. So we're encouraging the good bacteria to proliferate and outgrow the bad bacteria. I mean, there are trillions of different kinds of bacteria. We don't include probiotics because unless you have a really severe issue, like maybe you took antibiotics for a few weeks and you've wiped out everything and you need to
Mm-hmm.
repopulate, it's like the equivalent of taking a glass of water and throwing it into the ocean and thinking you're making a difference. So you have trillions, like there are more bacteria in your stomach than there are stars in the sky. So adding 10 billion when you're trying to, when you have hundreds of trillions of bacteria, is like this is not going to make a difference. And it's not something healthy people should take all the time. It's something you should do when you've like wiped out your bacteria and you need to reseed it. So we
Oh,
don't include it because I don't think it's good to take every day. But a prebiotic is a good thing to take every day. Is that
because
kind of,
without prebiotics, can probiotics do their job?
I think a prebiotic is going to have more effect because you're feeding the good bacteria that's already there. The probiotics, like, so I had to take antibiotics because I got Lyme disease this spring, and like we just
Oh
nuked
my.
it, wiped everything out for 3 weeks, and had
Oh.
to restart the colony. And boy, does that just wiping out your stomach is really, really, really rough
Mm.
on you. So if you can
Yeah.
avoid doing that, I suggest. But if you get Lyme
Mm.
disease, please take antibiotics as
Oh,
soon as
yeah.
possible, no matter what
Yeah.
the doctor says. You need to take some sort of prebiotic, some sort of fiber, so the good ones can take hold. Otherwise, the bad ones are going to quickly outgrow the good ones.
Mike, tell me, okay, so your girlfriend and her MS, which I do want to hear how she's doing, but that the major spark that just started you into this particular endeavor with the momentum where you said, I'm going to go for this? Because a lot of time and money had to go into this from
Oh yeah.
conception to, an actual product.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely just watching her kind of suffer through, like she would just be crying in the mornings like I can't take a net pill. And so I really wanted to solve that issue. And then just the internet is so full of nonsense, and she just could not, everyone has such strong opinions like, oh, you can't eat this, you need to eat this, you need to take these supplements. And I'm like, all this stuff seems like total nonsense to me. Who has the truth? And the doctors are completely confused about it, and everybody seems to have an agenda one way or the other. I'm agnostic to what we put in the shake in the sense of like, if it's not going to be valuable, it's not going in the shake. So I'm not trying to sell an individual ingredient. I'm trying
Mm-hmm.
to make overall thing that is going to have the most positive effect on you. So I'm not trying to convince you that any one of these ingredients is great, right? Doesn't do me any good.
You're trying
Um,
to cover as many bases as possible in one drink.
Right. And if it's not going to give you, a benefit that you can feel and see, then like why am I including it? Right. So
Mm-hmm.
that to me is the most important thing. And that's why we have like 75% of our customers reorder.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm measuring success, is like how many people reorder it, how many people refer it. And so I'm constantly trying to, improve the shake as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was the initial spark, was just seeing that there's a dearth of information, a dearth of trust. And wow, is it just like a total pain in the butt to order all these things separately? You have to try to like
Hmm.
guess if this company's doing third-party testing or if they're making it well. And then just how do you choke down all of these things separately?
Right. Right.
But from there, it was like I had to learn so much about biology, so much about how all of these things are manufactured. So if we discover this ingredient, this molecule, this macro source is super important to your body, super important to aging. Okay, now there's 40 different versions of this, right? So like we're just talking about fiber. There's hundreds of choices to make, which is the right one. Really getting a deep understanding about how the body works took me years. I've talked with every kind of possible doctor. I've visited every possible kind of manufacturing facility, figured out, why do we put this in there? And then why are we specifically picking these ones? So your question earlier about why we get the whey protein from Ireland. There's a massive difference between grain-fed cows and grass-fed cows, right? We all know that. So when you see grass-fed anything, you have to put an asterisk next to it because a lot of places in the world have winter. I'm in the dairy land right here in Wisconsin, and we have winter half of the year. So that means they are not able to get grass a lot of the time. So there's a few places in the world that that's not true, and Ireland is one of them. They have the most sunny days, shockingly.
Oh,
So cows can be out in pasture eating grass the most throughout the world. I don't know if you've ever been to Ireland, but when I was there, I was just like blown away by how green it was.
wow.
And have you heard of Kerrygold butter before, right?
Oh, that's what's in my fridge. Yeah.
Right. It's the best butter in the world. And the
Yeah.
reason is because they're living on this giant green island that is covered in grass all year round. And so that's been like one of their top things in
Oh,
the world
yeah.
to outsource. And so we're at the Butter Museum in Ireland, and I'm learning all about this. And I'm like, oh, this totally makes sense. And I don't have to worry about pesticides going on the grass because it's not
Mhm.
allowed in the country, right? So I don't have to trust the farmer, or anybody. It's like, oh yeah, there's no pesticides on this. Like, I know there's not.
Oh, yeah.
Um, the grass-fed whey protein is a byproduct of making cheese or butter. Like you have curds and whey, right? So the whey
Yep.
is what's left over, and it's the most nutrient-dense protein there is available. I'm sure a lot of your listeners maybe are taking a plant-based protein. It's probably a pea protein, maybe
Hmm.
mixed with the rice or soybean protein. So a quick lesson on that is amino acids are protein. Maybe you've heard of branched chain amino acids
Hmm.
before.
Right.
So those are three of the nine essential amino acids. And by essential, I mean like they're essential for life. Your body produces thousands of amino acids, but these nine you have to get from food. Your body can't make them. When we're looking at the quality of a protein, like how many of these do we have per gram? And whey is not even close. It's like twice the amount that you would get from plant-based protein. To get the same amount, you literally have to take 2 to 3 times as much pea protein as you would from whey protein. It's also much harder to digest, which is why people get like bloated when they take
Hmm.
it because your body literally can't break it down to extract all of that stuff. And you're just getting way less, particularly the branched chain amino acids. So that's why we use whey protein. I know some people, we get some pushback on that. They want to have plant-based protein, and I'm just not willing to do it because it's by any measurable account an inferior source of protein,
Hmm.
and it's going to have heavy metals in it because it's coming from all around the world and fields that are using pesticides. And yeah, you just anything that comes out of the ground directly is going to be concentrated heavy metals, especially when you're concentrating the food on top of it.
So if someone has an allergy or is allergic to whey, they can't take your product, or have some taken it and not had effects.
When people have an allergic reaction to some kind of dairy, it's usually lactose. That's a type of sugar that's naturally
Hmm.
occurring. And the
Right.
reason that is because a lot of people have lost the lactate enzyme as they've gotten older, or for whatever reason, their body produces less lactate. And that's the enzyme that would help break that sugar down. So, what we do is we provide a full enzyme package in every serving that will help you break down sugars, carbs, fats, everything. As we get older, everybody produces less of all these enzymes, and you need them to get optimal nutrients. So that's included. So I think for a lot of people that solves it. In general, whey protein has almost no lactose in it. It is removed in the
Oh.
process of making it. So it's sub quarter of a percent is lactose. So for most people, that's not the issue. It's something else. It's probably a lower quality protein, or it's just having a bunch of protein all by itself. They're having a protein shake without fat, without carbs.
Hmm.
So there's very few meals in the world where you're having a single macro. That's why I think it's important that it comes in a shake form, because you're getting fiber and carbohydrates and you're getting fats and you're getting protein all at once, which is going to help your body break all these things down easier and not be so tough on your stomach, but also helps you absorb all these vitamins, because that's how you would naturally eat something, right? So I want to be as close to an actual meal as possible.
That leads me to my other question. Now, the way I do this for Zane and me, I do it as a meal replacement most of the time because both of us in the morning, we're just out the door, busy, but we want to get that first meal in. So, what I do is I use the 2 scoops with wild blueberries, and we do dairy milk. We just love dairy milk. And I believe that's all I do. And the 2 scoops that, and sometimes I'll add a nut butter.
Mhm.
Love it, love it, love it. We're not hungry until our next meal. But what is the way that you do this shake and the way most people do it? Because I'm never right in the norm.
For me, like mornings are like the most difficult time to make sure I'm setting myself up. They're the most
Yeah.
important, right? I don't
Hmm.
feel like cooking. I'm probably late for something. To me, that's like the most natural time to do it. It's like I'm heading out the door. And now I know that I've had the most nutritious meal of my day.
Hmm.
And it gives me a ton of energy, and it keeps me, I don't have like a hunger pain until like well after lunch.
Do you just shake with do you do the shaker? Because I know in all of the literature, it shows people shaking it. And it's quicker, it's easier. Is that what you do?
That's what
And
I do. Sometimes I'll do milk. It's pretty decadent with milk, I think.
oh,
And
yeah, yeah.
sometimes I'll just do water, or I'll do a mixture of the two. But it's 8 ounces of liquid of your choice, and then 2 scoops, and then you shake for 15, 20 seconds. And it's going to be similar to like chocolate milk, which I know sounds crazy that that's possible, because there's so many things in there, and you would just assume that that many different kinds of vitamins and minerals and things are going to just taste terrible because that's been your experience. But for me, that was not something I was going to be willing to do every day, because our tagline is to live better longer, and I'm just not willing to do something that sucks every day. What was really important to me is that we got the flavor right, and I'm still trying to make it better every single day. For me, that meant it had to be two things. I had zero compromise on the ethics of it. Most companies they're trying to make a profitable product, and Momentum is profitable, don't get me wrong, but their margins are usually like 95 to 90%, and we have much closer to 30% margins. And every time I'm able to increase that, I go try to add another ingredient like colostrum. But
Mm.
recently we just switched to the most expensive cocoa provider that I could find in the world, and they're using a
Oh,
single source origin cocoa, and that's really, I think, elevated. So my rules are that it has to be real, so we're never using natural flavors or artificial flavors. Whenever you see natural, that means it's not the thing, right? There's no such
yeah,
thing as a natural flavor. It's they're like mimicking
right,
vanilla, or they're mimicking cocoa,
right.
and it comes from planet Earth, and that makes it natural. That's all that means. So what we're using is real cocoa. We don't use artificial sweeteners. We use coconut nectar and monk fruit, and those are
Mm.
both real things that people have been using for a very long time for sweeteners, and they're natural. They're organic. So
Hmm.
that's it. That's our flavor profile: is real cocoa and real vanilla beans and real
Hmm.
sugars. So, and,
Well, and when I said I added the blueberries and the peanut butter, that's to the vanilla, which I love. To the chocolate, I've got a little thing we do that's a really decadent shake, but it's so easy and so delicious. And like I said, we're not hungry for hours after. Well, it sounds like you've done several iterations. You're always making improvements and upgrades as you see fit. Is there anything that you have down the line that a goal of a different, maybe an additional product, a new
sure.
flavor? What's coming down the pike?
All of my decisions are based on what is going to make this easier for people to succeed. So I'm really always looking at human behavior. I want to keep making it taste better and better. And a lot of that is just like millimeter changes and things. So I'm just kind of obsessive about that. But then also, what I've noticed is if people drop out in the first month or two, they're not seeing the results. I want them to have really positive effects. If they make it past 3 or 4 months, people stay because that is enough time to be like, oh wow, my skin is better. I'm
Mhm.
sleeping better. I haven't gotten sick in the last 3 months. So I'm going to try to come up with some things to help people get over that hump and then really see the results because I think it's going to be able to they're going to have better lives. But literally, you can do blood tests on these things and see your biomarkers changing. You can do biological age tests and you can see that changing. Mine's dropped 10 years in the last 2 years. I want people to have those kinds of results and effects. So those are the main things. And what I have to do so far, just from like I interact with customers all the time, and so we're going to try to make travel packs so they can take it with them when they travel to Europe,
Mhm.
and that'll be easier. We're going to
Mhm.
make a couple more flavors. I think maybe strawberry or chocolate. So trying to figure out how to make those in the level of quality that I want.
Mhm.
We're working with the roastery that just won best coffee of the year in the world to
Oh.
try to get some coffee beans, and we're going to try to figure out how to like freeze dry it and extract it in a way that those flavors are preserved. So things like that. And then what I've noticed is a lot of people who are trying to lose weight, which I think is, a real unlock for life, is being at the right weight for you, where your body is processing food and insulin correctly. That's hard. Like
Mhm.
I lost 10 pounds this year, and I really understand like how
Mhm.
difficult
Yeah.
that is to do
Mhm.
that. Like you can put on muscle and you can exercise, but if you don't lock in and figure out how to simplify a lifestyle, it's just really hard to do. So what I noticed for me that were the things that were holding me back were sweets and just not accepting that it's the amount of calories that I'm eating.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
it to be more complicated than that, right?
Mhm.
Like, oh, if I cut
Mhm.
out carbs and maybe if
Yeah.
I eat sweet potatoes instead of real potatoes, then
Mhm.
it's like, okay, I just need to eat less. So how do I make that easy where I don't have
That's
to
so
think about
funny.
it?
My husband said that last night. He said, I've just figured out people who are healthy and lean, they just don't eat as much as
Yeah.
I do. That is a simple truth, but you just hit the nail on the head. We eat too much.
I know
And
we
we
like
try to complicate losing, but you're
yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Eating less.
it's almost everything in our life is on the other side of us accepting responsibility
Yes,
for
yes.
it. And I
Mm-hmm.
just want it to be the more
Mm-hmm.
complex it is, the more excuse I have for not
Right.
succeeding, right?
Yeah.
And if it really is just that simple, like I need to eat less, then it was always my fault.
I know.
So
I
like
know.
once you just get over that,
Yeah.
you're like, you know what? I'm going to decide to eat less. A pound of weight is 3,500 calories. So if I reduce my calorie intake by 3,500 calories a week, 500 calories a day, I'm going to lose a pound a week.
Mm-hmm.
And so as soon as I accepted that, I was like, okay, 10 weeks later, I've lost 10 pounds. Great. So the thing that kept getting me is like, I would like diet and do all these things all day. And then it would be like 9, 10 o'clock at night. I was like, I'm going to have a bowl of ice cream because I'm very hungry. And I just like
Yeah.
my willpower will go down throughout the night.
Mhm.
So we're able to replace one meal, right, and breakfast. And we've locked that in. What can I do for the people really specifically who want to build muscle or lose weight? Like a lot of people wanted to take a second serving of momentum, and that you shouldn't do that because there's full servings of everything in it. So you'd have way too many vitamins or way too much magnesium,
Mhm.
right? I wanted to make a version that didn't have those things that you would overdose on. So making a protein, collagen, electrolyte shake that you could have a second meal of. And so what we're doing is we're going to make a second version of momentum that you could have for a second time in the day that will give you more protein, collagen, electrolytes, the things that you can't overdose on. And what I've been doing is I got a Ninja Creamy, and
Oh
have you
my
heard of that before?
goodness. Yes, yes, yes. I'm making Ninja Creamy like crazy. I'm
Oh my
sharing
gosh.
it. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome.
So you can make this into an ice cream that is like 90%.
Yep.
The texture, the flavor is there. All you got to do is add milk. And it's been such an unlock for me that I can sit down and have dessert and have it be good for me. So like, it's like a mind blow. It's not just like, oh, this is like a guilt-free, like this is a positive.
I
I'm
know.
actually helping myself by having this
Yep.
protein ice cream. So
Yep.
that's sort of like on the agenda. And then way, way down the road, we'll start trying to do the same thing with skincare and maybe hair care and things like that, where
Hmm.
we're taking the absolute best and making it a bundle into something simple and routines. You're not doing like 50 different face creams or whatever. But we've
Hmm.
got a long ways to go with momentum. My goal is to help 100,000 people live an extra 5 years of really healthy life. So I'm doing everything I can to make that happen. And that means we're going to build out a huge much bigger than we have right now, facility to just keep up. And the manufacturing, it's really important that we do the manufacturing because I want to be able to pass those savings on to
Mhm.
customers as much as possible as inflation keeps going up, but also be hyper in control of the quality. I don't
Mhm.
want to have to trust anybody else that they did it right or that it's clean or that they've been testing everything that comes in. I know it. The team I'm building is incredible and everybody is highly incentivized for the success of the company and the success of all of you. So that's how everyone is rewarded and we have a team goal and so just building that out and to, make it all
Yes.
happen.
Please keep me posted. I'm all for the travel packs. And I want to throw out a recommendation. You mentioned
Please.
coffee beans and so many of my friends and I, we love like an iced coffee, at least one, maybe two.
Hmm.
And there was a protein powder that actually Peter Attia referenced as one of his favorites. And it was a coffee mocha. And I bought it. And I hate to say it was in the trash, like after two
It
or
didn't
three times,
taste
like
right.
horrible.
Right.
And I don't know. And I'm sure maybe I did something wrong because, he's obviously, he's way smarter than I will ever be. But something that you almost has the feel of a good iced mocha coffee, Java mocha, whatever, that would
Hmm.
be a flavor to consider because
Oh, 100%.
it's pick me
I do
up
that
and
a
it's
lot actually right now.
yeah.
I'll make an iced coffee and I'll use that to make the shake and it's just so good.
Oh, I need to try
So,
that.
yeah, just make sure the coffee is cold and not
Yes,
hot,
right.
because any kind of hot liquid will denature the vitamins and not
Mhm.
make them good anymore. So, if as long as it's
Right.
cold, you can mix it with momentum. It'd be great.
Yeah.
The reason that that probably didn't taste the way you wanted it to on the other shake is that they're using a coffee flavor. So they're not going to use
Mhm.
real coffee because that was going to take
Yeah.
like some innovation to like be able to extract real coffee
Hmm.
perfectly and then make that mix with the powder. So people are always using natural flavors to imitate something. And they're probably also using like allulose or some other alternative sweetener, right? Sugar is like the most hotly debated thing in the world.
Hmm.
And we're using coconut sugar, which is a nectar from the coconut plant, which has a lower glycemic index. And so you process it that a little bit better, but it's still sugar. Like honey is sugar and maple syrup is sugar, or you have either the blueberries, they have naturally occurring sugars, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. So your brain runs on glucose. Your body will basically turn anything, even if you're on a keto diet, like your body runs on glucose. And keto, if you were eating zero carbs, you'd run on ketones. But that's super not healthy for you, in my opinion.
Hmm.
The obsession with trying to remove every single carb in your life, I think,
Hmm.
is two
Yeah.
years max. That's not going to be what people are saying.
Oh,
Every year
yeah.
you can see whatever the new villain is, and right now it's
Mhm.
any source of carb or sugar, and that's just not natural. That's not the
Right.
way we are wired, and going
Right.
to lead to some cognitive declines. So the obsession with trying to remove any source of real sugar and replacing it with some alternative fake sweetener, we have no idea what the side effects of that are long term. Taking something else that tastes sweet but apparently doesn't do anything to your body.
Mhm.
I don't really believe that. So I just think it's a quantity issue and then how much of it you are having. So if you've ever worn like a glucose monitor before, have you ever done that?
I have not.
It's really fascinating. So you see what your blood sugar is doing in real time. And that's what broke the myth in me that there are certain sources of carbs or sugars that are okay and some that aren't. If you have a fruit smoothie, you're getting like 40 to 50 grams of sugar and not a lot else, right? So your body's going to break that down really quickly. You'll have an insulin spike. If
Hmm.
you have a bowl of oatmeal in the morning, which sounds really healthy, right? You're getting 20, 30, 40 grams of sugar because
Hmm.
oats are just straight carbohydrates.
Hmm.
So Momentum has 3 grams of sugar, just kind of for perspective, right? Which is almost nothing. It's
Right.
just enough to make it taste just sweet enough. But it's mixed with 30 grams of protein and it's mixed with 5 grams of fat. So when you're having your meals, and this is good advice, I think, for all of your dietary planning, is if you're going to have carbs, make sure you're having it with something else.
Right.
Because what we don't want to do is have an insulin spike. And the way you avoid that is slowing that process of breaking down glucose. And the easiest way to do that is to mix it with a bunch of proteins and fats. And so it'll just
Hmm.
get to it slower. It's when we have straight carbs and sugar all at once, and your body just like, especially at breakfast, because you haven't eaten anything.
Hmm.
So having a big glass of orange juice is terrible for
Oh,
you
I
for that
know.
reason.
Yeah.
So what I notice is I would have like a bowl of pasta, right? And you'd think like, whoa, that's a ton of carbs. but I'm having it with, you know, a ragu. So there's a bunch of meat and
Mm-hmm.
fat in there, zero spike. You have dessert after a big meal, you're not going to see a big spike. If you ate
Mm-hmm.
like a plate of cookies with nothing else, it's going to go through the roof. And that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the worst things you can do for yourself is metabolically cause that level of stress from a massive insulin response. So just making
Yeah.
sure that you are eating all of your macros together and your body will do what it's supposed to do.
Well, and that's why I love this product, love that it's easy, one and done. And can you, as we wind it down, I know you've got other things to do, but tell everyone watching and listening who might want to give this a try, how it works, if you want
Sure.
to give it a try.
You just go to momentumshake.com and you can sign up to buy it once for $80, or you can do a subscription for $75. I don't like forcing people to get subscriptions. It's not something I like to do. So you can try it out. You're going to get a welcome kit. So it's going to include a shaker, a metal spoon, a gratitude journal to help you track the most important habits that I want you to help develop, and a booklet of all the information that breaks down every single ingredient that goes in there, where we get it from, why it's important. What I want you to do is try it for 30 days, at least, maybe 60, and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, you just email us and we're going to refund you your first bag. So if you want to just try one bag for $80, you still get the welcome kit. It's yours to keep. And if you don't like it for any reason, you get to keep it. You don't have to send it back. I don't want your money if it's not helping you. So you get the full $80 back. Maybe you don't like the taste or whatever. So that's it. I think you'll see the results, particularly over a 2 to 3 month time period. Take a bunch of blood tests. Mark Hyman has got a really great thing called Foundation. He's got a blood test, and you can,
Yes, I've
yeah,
seen it, and I respect him a lot, Mark Hyman. So
he's a
I'll
great guy.
see if I can find that and link to it,
You can, it's
the
for like
show notes.
$500, you can get a test every 6 months that'll do like 150 biomarkers. And over that 6 month period, you're going to see a pretty big change, even if that's just the one thing that you're changing in your life. But my hope is, you know, this isn't magic. This is one part of being healthy. And the rest of it is making sure you don't eat too much, making sure you're active, you're reducing your stress in your life, and you're getting enough sleep. And so if you can do all of those things, I think you can make a massive difference in the quality of your life. And that's what I really want to get through to people, is that we get to choose. You know, the oldest person in the world is like 120, and people still die at 60. Genetics is a big part of that, but there's a lot of choice in there, and you get to decide quality of those years that you're getting and then how many of them you get. And I think a lot is going to happen in our lifetime, that we have the potential to catch this wave of technology. Momentum is not the cure all. It's not going to make you live forever, but can help you live an extra 5 years of healthy life. And then some actual really impressive breakthroughs happen that could keep us going for a lot longer. Aging is the thing that makes life not great, or it leads to suffering. If we can avoid that by any
Yeah.
means necessary, I think we should do that.
Well, we're interested. Zane and I are going to see. We've been doing this consistently since he got an A1C, a bad A1C. So we've zeroed in, and this is one thing that we've done in addition to adding some fiber, some other fiber. So we'll see, and that, because that will be one of the main things that we've changed. So we'll see how that turns out, because he's going to be retested in about a month. So
Cool. Is he reducing the amount that he's eating too?
yes, he is.
Okay,
That,
good.
and thus last night, just the comment, he said, still, I think I eat too much, even though I've cut out, he's totally cut out the villain that it was fries.
Oh
He
man.
just loved fries. He's hadn't had one since the diagnosis, but he said last night, said, but the one thing I could do is just eat a little bit less, because I think our portions that we think are correct, they're larger than a portion should be. I just think most of us probably eat more than we should. So I know I do.
Oh
So
yeah, I love food. I love to cook,
I know.
and it's so
I
difficult.
know. It is, but I so appreciate the time that you've spent today. And for those watching and listening, I will have a link to the Momentum Shake. Listen, anytime you've got a new iteration or a new product, jump back on and share it with us, or just shoot me an email, and then I'll spread the word, because
Awesome.
we love it. And thank you so much, Mike.
Jamie, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to chat.
Yes. And until next time, hope the rest of you have a fabulous rest of your day. Hi, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the SavvyCast. If you'll take the time to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, that would mean so much. As always, thank you for listening, and have a blessed day.